Okay, so this is a tutorial for how to make these overlay mosaic crochet coasters. You can see they're really simple, easy design, perfect first mosaic crochet project. So I'm Zoe, I'm a designer for Victoria Bee Designs, and yeah, today we're going to make these coasters following a really simple overlay mosaic crochet chart like this one. So to make mosaic crochet, basically what you're doing is you're alternating two colours. Each row is worked in alternate colours. The one row will always be a double crochet into the back loop of a stitch. This is in UK terms. I should say that now just before we get fully into it. Yes, this is UK terms. So for US, just translate DC into single crochet and treble into double crochet. So yeah, a row of double crochet stitches worked into the back loops only, and then also alternating with a row with treble stitches, which are these longer ones, which then drop down to cover up the colours behind. So I'll show you how that works. To read the chart, you're always going to work from right to left and from the bottom up. So the first thing you need, generally what you'll do in designs is you'll have two rows to set up the pattern and alternate your colours. So the first row and then the second row in your alternate colour. So for row 1, I'm going to use yarn A, which is my turquoise colour. And to save time, I've already done my first row, which is 17 double crochet stitches. I did a foundation double crochet row because I'm not a fan of trying to crochet into a row of chains, but you could do either, whichever is your preferred method is fine. So as you can see, we've got 17 stitches along the bottom, so I've done 17 stitches for my row. Now before I finish this row, at the beginning and end of all rows, so for the end of your foundation row and the beginning and end in every other row, you want to do what's called a securing stitch. So I've done my double crochets, and then to secure the row I'm just going to do a chain on the end after my last stitch, and then I will cut that to leave about a 10 centimetre tail, just for your finishing off later on. And I'm just going to pull that through. So that is my first row finished. And then for my yarn. So for row 2, my second setup row, I'm also going to start with a secure stitch. So for this one, you're always going to go into the under both loops of the edge stitches. So because it's a foundation chain, it's a bit of a funny stitch on the end here, but this is my first stitch and I'm going under both of the top bit. We'll count this as my 2 top loops, and I'm going to pull my colour B yarn through, and then rather than carry on working, I'm actually going to use my tail end, this bit here, to yarn over and pull through, which is essentially doing like a chain stitch with my tail. So I'm going to yarn over, pull that tail through, and then instead of pulling it tight, I'm going to put my hook back into that, and then I'm going to chain properly with my working end of the yarn and do a double crochet stitch all into that first foundation crochet stitch. So that's my first edge securing row, and then for this one you can see all I've got in here is 2 little E's for my edge stitches, completely blank boxes, which just means it's a line of double crochet stitches. In the next row you can see I've got some X's, well you might not be able to see because they're quite small on the printout, but yeah, these are X stitches, which is when it would be a treble crochet stitch. So I'm going to do this row of single crochets, double crochets even, into the back loop only. Okay, you can see just this is the back loop here and carry on working along. Alright, so I'll finish this row and come back to show you the edge stitch. Alright, so I worked all the way along and I've just got one more stitch to make, which is my final edge stitch for this row. So you can see my chain stitch there, and this is my last double crochet. So because it's the edge stitch, I'm going to go under both loops, not just the back one. Pull that through, work my double crochet, and then do a chain as we did in the last row, and then I can cut that off and fasten off. There we go. So I've got my 2 starting rows set up. So row 3, which is this row here, I've got my edge stitch, and then I've got 1, 2, 3 treble crochets, which will go down into the loops, the front loops of the first row. So you're always either working into the back loop of the previous row if you want to see a bit of colour. So that's like where you've got these pink, which we'll do in a minute. And then if you want to see block, like all this, you're always going to be working into the previous colour. So not the previous row, but the previous colour that matches your working colour. So row 3, we're back on our turquoise yarn. So again, starting with an edge stitch, so I'm going under both loops. Ooh. Pulling my yarn through, and then again chaining with the tail end of the yarn, and then pulling my hook out, putting it back into the front of the stitch, doing a chain, a double crochet under those both loops. There we go. Sort my yarn out. So that's our first edge stitch done. So that is this stitch, and then we've got 1, 2, 3 treble crochet stitches. So for that, start my treble crochet, and I'm going to work into the front of this loop here. Very hard to do when you're working with your arms around a tripod. So then I'm going to carry on as normal, do my treble crochet. There we go. And then I've got 2 more of those to do. So again, just into the front loop of that previous turquoise row. And then 1 more. So I've got my 3 and my edge stitch, and then the next stitch is a blank box, but it's got pink in it. So that shows you that I'm going to be leaving a pink stitch, which means I just want to work into the back of that double crochet, back loop, and do another double crochet. Here we go. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 treble crochets to work. So again, I'm going to be covering up the pink and going into the turquoise front loop. And then I've got my pink blank square. Ooh. There you go. And then we've got 1, 2, 3 treble crochets and a finishing edge stitch. And there's my 3, and I'm on to my final edge stitch. So under both loops, make my double crochet, chain 1, and I can cut that off. putting it down to cut because trying to cut scissors while looking for a camera viewfinder is not ideal. So there we go, so that's row 3. So row 4 is pretty much the opposite. So we've got our edge stitch, and then instead of 3 trebles, we've got 3 blank, so 3 double crochets and 1 treble to get the pink pattern the pink cross starting to appear. And then we carry on with 7 blanks, 1 treble, 3 blanks. So I'll start that one off with my edge stitch again. So again, I'm going under both loops of that first double crochet, pulling my yarn through, chaining or pulling a loop through with my tail end, almost as if you're doing a fasten off, and then putting my hook back into the front of that loop, doing an actual chain, and my double crochet under both loops of that first stitch. There we go. So then it was 3 double crochet in the back loops, 1, 2, 3. Then we've got our first treble crochet with the pink, so that's this stitch here. It's going to drop down to cover this stitch. So you can see my front loop is waiting for me, nice and visible there. Work into that one. There we go. And then so for anyone you're doing the treble into the front of, you always want to make sure you have skipped the stitch behind. So if I work this next double crochet here, you can see, just to keep on track, that I've got my missed stitch in there. So I've still got, I'll always have the same number of stitches in a row, and I won't go, you shouldn't go up or down. If you go up or down in number, it means there's a missed one somewhere. Right, I'll carry on to the end of this row. Okay, so I'm at the end of that row. I've done my next treble and all of my double crochets. I've just got my final stitch to do under both loops. My chain and then my fastening off. Now, I'm not going to do all of them, but I'll do one more just to show you, and then we'll skip ahead a bit so you can see the pattern starting to emerge a bit more. Here again, joining under both loops at the end there. Ooh. Using my tail end, back in, chain, double crochet. All right, so then we're on row 5 here. So we've got 1 treble and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blanks. So that's our deep double crochets, 3 trebles, another 5 double crochets, and then a treble and our edge stitch. So 1 treble, and then 5 double crochet, my yarn out of the way. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then we've got 3 trebles. So my next stitch is this one here. I'm going to go into the front. And again, the next stitch front loop of that previous turquoise row. And again, especially while you're just getting the hang of it, it's always good to turn it over and check that you've got your 3 missed stitches. So you can see this is my last double crochet, and then I've got my 1, 2, 3 missed stitches where my trebles are. And I'm back to my 5 double crochets. One final treble, which is this one here. And then an edge stitch to both loops, double crochet, chain, cut and pull 3. Okay, so as you can also see where we do the trebles at the back and we missed the double crochets in the previous row, you can see we can start to get these little pockets appear. Now they're absolutely fine, obviously they're on the back of the work. I think it's quite neat anyway because you get these nice little stripes to contrast to the pattern on the front. But you can get rid of them if you'd like to. It does change the feel of the sort of the fabric that you crochet a little bit. So I've got one of my examples here. So you can see these few rows I've actually done like a little tuck when I make the treble stitch, which eliminates the pockets, whereas these rows at the later end of the project I haven't, just so you can kind of see the difference. So you see I'm not getting any little pockets or anything in those sort of 4 or 5 rows at the start, and I am at the back. It does change the feel of the little fabric a little bit too. So this bit is slightly more rigid. It's minimal but noticeable, whereas this bit has a teensy bit more draper movement. So for things like coasters, it's quite nice to tuck the back stitches in, or if you're making a big cushion, again I think it's quite nice because you just get a little bit more rigidity. If you're doing a scarf, I definitely recommend just leaving the pockets because you want to add a little bit of extra drape. So if you do want to do the tuck and just eliminate those pockets, I will show you how you kind of do an extra bit on your treble stitch that just attaches it to the double crochet you've missed. Oh, I need a pink yarn for this, right? I wonder if this is the best time to show you or not. Let's have a look. I've not got many trebles to show you with, but we'll do it over the next 2 rows so you can see. I'm just joining my yarn as normal. The only change is what you do when you make the treble stitches. So for this, I'm just doing all the way double crochets, and I've just got the 2 trebles at the top of the crosses, so that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start my treble as normal through that front loop, pull my yarn over, and then where I would normally yarn over and go through my next 2 loops, I'm actually going to catch the stitch above it. So the one that we'd normally skip, I'm just putting my hook through that back loop. I'm going to do yarn over and pull through 2, including that back bit now, and then pull through my final 2. So as you can see, we've actually now caught, it looks just like a DC stitch from the back. I've caught it rather than missed it like these stitches here. So I'll do some more. And the next row is probably a good one to show you on because there'll be a few more treble stitches in that. So I'm going to carry on my double crochets. So here we go again, so I'm at my treble stitch, so I'm going to go to my front loop, yarn over, and then I'm going to catch the back loop of the turquoise stitch, the row below, do my 2 stitches and do my two loops and then another 2 loops, and I can carry on to the end of the row to my edge stitch. Under both loops of my edge stitch, double crochet, chain, and then I'll cut that off. Join, yarn A again, chain, double crochet under both loops. So here we are, so we've got 1, 2, 3 treble stitches. So I'll do these with the little extra tuck join bit into my front loop, and then there's the back of that stitch that I need to go into too. I've got the angle looking around my chair here with my arms, there we go. And finish the stitch as normal, and again through that first loop, then through the back, and then finish as normal, and again through the first front loop and through the back loop of the pink, and then I've got a double crochet stitch. And if we look at the back, you can just see they're all completely joined in, as opposed to the little pockets. So it's just a nice option to have. Like I said, I think it works well for things like coasters or placemats or cushions where you do want them a little bit stiffer fabric. But for things like scarves or cowls or something, wearable gloves, I think I would not do this and leave it with the little pockets just to give a bit more extra drape. There we go, so I'll carry on and in pattern following the chart, and I'll show you a bit further on. So I've just done the end of row 8 now, so you can see we've got a full cross appearing and the start of the repeat one, which is here. And then if I do some more, I'll get to the end. You see the finish line is basically the same as any other row, and you just do your edge stitch at the end as normal. So here we are at the end. As you can see, I've just done a completely normal row, finished with my normal edge stitch. And then to deal with these ends, for the coaster pattern, sort of that this tutorial is for, I'm just going to suggest we cut them off and leave a nice little tassel on the end. You can also obviously just weave them in as you normally would, thread them onto a needle and just weave up the corresponding colour to get them to disappear. If you're making something really big, like a blanket or some sort of like wall hanging square, you can also do a crochet border that encapsulates them, so you don't have to weave every single one in if you've got, you know, several hundred on a project. And I'll do that in a different tutorial for you at some point, but this is just the really easy how to do overlay mosaic crochet to create this little mosaic crochet coaster. Obviously you can have a lot of fun doing them in different colorways, doing opposite colorways. Yeah, so that's the technique. Let me know if you find it helpful, and if there's any other elements of overlay mosaic crochet you'd like videos on. I'll do the border one at some point. And you can also do all sorts of special stitches using diagonals and things, which I'll cover in a later tutorial as well. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Yeah, please do put any thoughts and comments in the comments. Happy crocheting!